Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. So, the mowing season is coming to an end here in Texas, and it's also my first full year of landscaping full time. And I thought it'd be funny to talk about my goals for the year, because we all have goals, right? I have goals, you have goals. Well, I set a ton of goals for myself when I built this landscaping trailer. And I think it'd be nice to go over those goals of what I thought I'd be after my first season and what actually happened. From equipment upgrades, to employees, to money goals, to breakdown goals, to just basically growth goals. Today I'm gonna go over all the things I thought I'd be doing after 1 year of doing this and what actually happened after 1 year of doing all this. Let's start with equipment. I had a lot of goals for myself when I built this. Equipment goals, things I thought would be different after 1 year. Now I knew that I would never get rid of that truck and I'd never get rid of this trailer, and I also knew I would not have a second trailer yet, but I had goals for other equipment. I actually thought, the way the season started last year, that I would have a second trailer, but not a mowing trailer. I would have a dump trailer, because we were doing so many jobs involving tree cleanups and just landscaping cleanups and construction jobs that I thought, man, if I could justify it, a dump trailer would be very beneficial for us because we do use it a lot. I'm glad I didn't buy a dump trailer, because turns out that was just a seasonal thing. We made a bunch of money in the spring cleaning up, but then it kind of went flat until just recently here in the fall, and we did some more cleanups. So we don't have a dump trailer yet, and it is something we'd like to explore in the future, but we don't know how to manage it, because it's kind of one of those things. Either you're a landscaper or you're a lawn care person. It's hard to be both and give it 100%. The biggest piece of equipment, though, that I thought I would be doing this year is I thought for sure there'd be 2 of these in this trailer. And if you guys been around for the whole year, you saw that I demoed a Skag Cheetah. We actually fit in here. It fits no problem. I also demoed some walker mowers, and I have some hustlers coming up. But I actually thought by now, at the end of the first year, I would have 2 of these in here. As you can see, I don't have 2 of these in here. And there's a reason for that, and it ties into all my other goals. So when I first started, I just assumed if you get a second mower, you'll make double the money. Well, essentially that is correct if you have the work to do it. But that's really not correct if you're just buying the mower to make money, because you have to have the jobs to support the second mower. So while I thought having 2 mowers would make more money, what I learned was I needed to properly use this first mower before investing in a second mower. And all that will tie into all my other goals. The short version is we didn't have enough work to justify a second mower. That being said, we are very close to needing a second mower. Also, we like the idea of a backup, because when this thing goes down, it completely shuts you down for the day until it's repaired. So having a second mower not only generates more income, it actually has a backup plan if you have a problem with your main mower. Moving forward this next year, 100% there will be a second mower in here for 2 reasons. Backup, and because we're expanding enough that we will actually have 2 mowers running all day. So that is our goals for next year, but this year I thought for sure there'd be 2 mowers in here. We actually didn't have much more equipment purchased this year. We purchased 1 new trimmer, and that was because we realized we needed a backup, because those things are actually very fragile. We broke 2 shafts this year, mostly our problems, because we were using this rack right here. But when we broke them, we realized we can't just get parts right away, so we actually have a backup. So we actually have 3 trimmers. We have 2 on the trailer, 1 in the shop as our backup, and that's about it. We didn't buy any more equipment for the year. We are, however, going to be adding a second blower. So that blower is actually in the truck for the job I'm doing today, but we're gonna add a second one. So this is a fogger right here. Did not use that as much as I thought I would. This will probably stay at the house this year. And we replace it with another Echo blower, probably a 9010. I believe that's the newest one that blows the best, because we do have to do a lot of blowing around here for our leaves and cleanup. So I think in the future we'll just have a second blower, a second mower, and I think we're pretty good over here. And that's probably our goals for the next year. The next goal for me was employees. And as you can see, I am the only employee, and that was a great goal starting out as a solo landscaper. My only goal was to make enough money to earn a living with all this equipment right here. And I found out that's very easy to do If you just show up, do a quality job, and communicate with your customers, you will never have a problem finding work if you can do those 3 things. Simply just show up, do a great job, and communicate. And you will have no problem finding work to do with all this equipment right here. Now that being said, I had bigger goals. I actually thought I would have 1 or 2 full-time employees by this time of the year. And I quickly learned that that's not the way it works. So I first found myself just trying to make myself busy 5 days a week. And that was very easy to do. So I became very, very busy, and I maximized my time, and I was making really good money. But you can't do that forever because I was very tired. I was running non-stop. And while I was busy and making good money, that's not sustainable. You cannot run yourself that ragged 5 days a week and ever expect to make it last, because there's weather delays and there's special things that come up that require more than you can actually do as a solo person. So I knew that once I got there that I couldn't continue to work by myself, because you just can't do it. It's too big of a workload, too many risks for failure. All those kind of things start to add up as you grow, because you're growing faster than you can handle the work yourself. So I then hired 1 employee, and what I found out by hiring that 1 employee was my 5 days of work by myself turned into 3 really good days with an employee. So I went from being busy 5 days a week to only being busy 3 days a week, which was great because it left us time for 2 days to do special projects and go after new jobs and all those kind of things. So that's also the reason why we don't have a second mower, because I quickly learned we weren't utilizing this mower enough to justify a second mower. Having this second employee really opened our eyes to what we can do as a company, and it's great that we understand that now, because the way I started growing in the beginning is not the way I'm growing now, because now I understand growth is very different when you have employees versus when you're working by yourself. Because when you're by yourself, you get tired, and sometimes when you tell people you'll do things, the guy that has to do it is the guy that just told him you would do it. So you start to get tired of telling people yes because you're the one doing the work. But when you have an employee, you start to think, okay, there's 2 of us doing this job, or there's 3 of us doing this job. That job's no big deal. I don't have to do the whole thing by myself. We can do it together. So that being said, I think we're comfortable with where we are right now. I do have a second employee who will be riding a mower next year. He's a great weed eater guy now, but he's ready for the mower. And I've actually found that we're faster when he is mowing and I am on the weed eater and the blower doing the detail work. So that is our plan moving forward, to get him trained up to do all the things I've been doing on the mower. And we'll probably get a 3rd guy to be our new weed eater guy, and we'll coach him up to being the second mower operator. And I will continue to be the detail guy, because as the detail guy, you keep things moving, you keep things going. They can do the awesome striping, and I'll take care of the cleanup work, making it look. Next up, other services, meaning anything besides mowing, right? So our bread and butter is mowing and taking care of people's properties. But last year, when this year started, there was a lot of cleanups in the spring. I actually thought we would make a lot more money using the chainsaws and the pole saws doing tree work, which is why I thought I would needed a dump trailer. Turns out that was just a seasonal thing, and while the money was good, it's not sustainable throughout the year, at least not for me, not yet, because I'm not going after it. But I think it would be a great idea to learn how to diversify, because, well, mowing only takes you so far in the season, and there's plenty of other things to do with all this other equipment that can generate you plenty of income when it's not the growing season. So I actually thought, starting the year out, that I would get into tree work, tree trimming, tree removal. I even went on a side quest with pressure washing, because pressure washing jobs were coming in like crazy. I actually thought I was going to build me a pressure washing trailer just like this trailer right here for mowing, but make it for pressure washing and set up to do the job correctly, because I was doing so many pressure washing jobs that I considered investing the money in the right equipment to do them more efficiently. Now I'm glad I didn't, because that's also was a very seasonal thing. In the spring, everyone was cleaning their houses, and I just found myself having so many pressure washing jobs that I thought maybe we should really explore the idea of making this one of our dedicated services that we provide. Looking back, that would have been a terrible idea, because we had a hard time keeping the trailer going right here mowing. I don't know how we would have ran 2 trailers last year without extra employees and another truck. I'm not sure I'm going to commit to doing full-time pressure washing. It's a great side business, but there's a lot involved in building a pressure washer trailer and getting everything done the right way to do things. You have to be able to give it the time that this gets if you want it to be successful. Because if you're just side hustling with pressure washing, it's really just a side hustle. And then this kind of becomes a side hustle too, because you got too many fires. You know what I mean? You have the landscaping trailer, you have the pressure washing trailer, you have the tree trailer. You're trying to do too many things. So while I had big goals at the beginning of the year, I learned that my bread and butter is mowing. I have some side jobs I do, which involves tree trimming. We do pressure washing, and we did a lot of landscaping construction, but those were very seasonal things. They were not full-time around the clock things, if you know what I mean. So they happen a lot in the spring. They don't happen so much in the main growing season. Then they happen some in the fall, right before winter. So that being said, I had big goals. I'm glad I didn't fall through with any of them, although I did come very close to having a pressure washer trailer. Our bread and butter really is right here. Now, we will try to push these services more as we grow. It can handle them. But I don't think we'll ever do full-time tree trimming. We'll never do full-time pressure washing. We might have a crew dedicated to landscaping construction because it is such a good way to make money, and it complements the services we already do, meaning we will try to do tree trimming and pressure washing for our customers, but I'm not sure that we'll go out and try to just do standalone tree trimming and pressure washing. We're trying to complement all the services we provide for our customers, not do standoff stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, if someone wants their yard pressure washed, I will gladly do it, but we push it to our customers so we can be a one-stop shop and provide them with everything they need. This is the big one, customers. What were my goals for the year with customers? I actually didn't have any goals for customers as far as numbers. I had an income goal. I had a base number I wanted to make each and every day, and I said if I can get that kind of money every day, I can make a living doing this and it'll be all right. I didn't actually have a number of customers I wanted to get. I just had an income goal. Well, when I started out, I kind of took on a lot of customers, and not all of them were the right customers. But in the beginning, when you're growing and starting out, you try to make everybody the right customer and just get your name out there. That being said, we learned very quickly that we were charging not enough money from the beginning. Even though we were getting new customers and we were getting a slight raise over their last people, there's a reason they got rid of their last people, because they were probably not great at all. So the prices were already low to begin with. And when I came in and I asked for a small raise, it still wasn't the right price for what is the market rate for mowing. So that was a hard lesson to learn. But I do have some customers that I have today that are the wrong price, but they're the right job, if you know what I mean. Some of my customers were there from the beginning, and while they are not priced correctly, the jobs are right. The jobs are okay. They're easy jobs to do. There's no nonsense. There's no drama. The price could be a little better, but at the end of the day, when you look at it versus your time invested and the money you get paid, it's actually an all right job. That being said, we grew crazy this year. We grew to where obviously I became full-time by myself, and then I was able to make it where me and an employee are full-time 3 to 4 days a week mowing. So we did grow. We grew a lot. We actually got a lot of jobs, a lot of quality jobs this year. But we also got a lot of terrible jobs. A lot of jobs we had no business trying to do. We did some landscaping project jobs that maybe were beyond our scope. We did some tree trimming jobs that were definitely beyond our scope. And at the end of the day, we did the jobs because we said we would do it, but most of the time we learned a lesson. We learned that we didn't price right. We didn't see all the things that could happen with a job that make it go sideways. We had a bunch of jobs that if it went perfect, it was gonna be an okay job, but there's a reason we got the job, because it was a hard job and it didn't go perfect. So we learned some quoting lessons. We learned when to say no lessons, and we learned how to fire ourselves and to fire people, because we took on some jobs that weren't the right jobs. And because we said we would do it, we did complete the season mowing them. And at the end of the year, we decided that maybe us and some of those customers aren't the best fit, so we let them go at the end of the season. And then some of them, we just raised the prices and we got the price to match the job that we're doing. But you have to learn, not all customers are the right customers, and not all customers need to be your customers. You need to find the right customer for you. Meaning, if they call you and they complain a lot about their last crew, I'm not gonna say that won't be successful, but there's only so many chances you get with a person like that, because if they'll fire somebody over something insignificant, they'll fire you over something insignificant. And that's what we learned this year, that when people call in and they want their yard mowed, but they just fired their last crew, you can probably sometimes win on that one, but most likely, no matter what you do, you will lose on that one eventually, because you will not meet all their expectations. So we treat those differently. When they call and say just fired somebody, The price goes up as though it is a first time and only time mowing that we don't expect to go back to. We'll do a very good job, and we will try to earn them as a customer, but most likely we know we're just temporary until they fire us and get the next person. And so we price accordingly to know that at least we're getting paid for our time there doing the job, because we know eventually one day we will let them down and not be able to complete all the things they expect. I also learned that don't take on every job just to be busy. Remember, I said I had income goals for the day. Well, sometimes I took on jobs to meet my income goal, but it wasn't the right income, if you know what I mean. Like, I did some jobs because it made me meet my goal for the day, severely underpriced, the wrong type of job, too much time invested, just the wrong situation. Even though I met my goal for the day for income, I did not meet my goal as far as hours worked and the quality of job I was doing and just the overall structure of the company. Like, so I made myself busy, but it wasn't the right kind of busy, if you know what I mean. And I think moving forward, we've already learned some lessons, and I'm sure we'll continue to learn lessons because, well, we're growing. But we have a different pricing structure now. We have a better way to estimate how much time it'll take. And now with 2 employees, we do have a pressure to keep moving because there's now 2 of us earning an income for that hour. But at the same time, we cover ground twice as fast. We just understand how efficient we can be as a team, and we price accordingly. And so far, some of our yards that were not priced correctly as a solo operator, now with a second employee, are priced correctly because we're in and out of there much faster. And then some of our bigger jobs, which were priced right on the money, became very profitable because we now have 2 people. So that being said, we're gonna keep pushing forward next year with the same strategy and the same structure of just make it worth our time, plus our overhead and our growth, that the price is right. We also learned that sometimes your price is wrong because you think you need X amount of dollars to make money for the hour, when really that number is way, way bigger. Way bigger than you think. For the most important goal of the year, money. What was my money goal with this equipment in my first year of mowing? Well, I'm not gonna tell you the number, but as a solo operator, I had a number in mind that if I can make that every single day, I would be successful. And at first, I was pretty good at hitting that number, but you know, it was hard to get there all 5 days of the week. And then when I started pushing myself to find that goal, even though I took on the wrong jobs, it was very easy to make my income goal for the week, but maybe not my workload for the week, if you know what I mean. So once I was able to get my income goal 5 days a week for myself, I was pretty happy. You know, it was great. Things were working out great, but I found myself being very, very tired, and I was always very, very busy. When I hired my second employee, I realized my goal for the day is not enough to justify having an employee for the day, because now I have to pay him, and I have to pay him enough money to keep him happy and coming to work. So I had to adjust my money goal for the day for me to make money and for my employee to make money and for us to be busy a good part of the day so that I can justify hiring somebody for the day. What started out as my goal for the day quickly got thrown in the trash can, and I wouldn't say it doubled. It went up 30 to 40% was our new goal, so I need to make X amount of dollars per day to justify having this trailer and my employee working all day. Well, after a few weeks, we found ourselves blowing right by that number because we got very efficient. I mean, there were some growing pains when I first hired my employee, but once we got efficient, the money kind of took care of itself because we were so fast. We were covering ground. We took our mowing schedule and started condensing it. I started adding yards to different days, and we turned 5 full days of work into 3 really, really full days of work. So now I'm getting more money in 3 days of work as opposed to 5 days of work, which gives us time to do side projects on those other 2 days. So mowing 3 full days a week, using all the other stuff on the trailer the other 2 days of the week. But our money goal started out being very, very small, something very simple. And then with an employee, it grew to almost double that. So now we make almost double per day than I originally had planned to be successful. And after looking at it and doing the numbers, it probably needs to be higher than that, because with an employee, there's other things that happen, other costs. There's just all kinds of things that happen. And even though you are meeting your goals, I think to be a successful business, you have to exceed your goals. So I started out here with an employee, we doubled that number. And now most days We almost triple that number from what I started out a year ago. So what I thought I needed to make money, I make triple that a day. And I understand that in order to succeed, the number needs to actually go up more than that, because I plan on adding more equipment and more employees. So you need to generate more income to justify all of this happening. Now I know what you're saying, money's money. Yes, money is money. Well, there's a difference between one guy working by himself and a guy trying to have employees and do a small business. You know what I mean? Because you're either a solo operator or you own a small business, or you own a big business. Either way, if you own a business that's not just you by yourself, there is a considerable amount of income you need to make to justify doing all this with other people involved. That being said, the funny thing is now is my goal I had for myself a year ago, that's not even enough money for us to hook this trailer up anymore and leave the driveway. Like, if we were to check our schedule and our money for the day was what I thought was successful for me by myself, we would simply just reschedule these jobs for a different day where we had more jobs to do, or we would go find more work, because the money that I started off thinking I had to make is now the money that I would not even drive around town and mow, because it's not worth our time with an employee. So that's what can be said about growing. The money you think you would be happy with in the future will be something that you would be like, that's not worth our time. And that's true with growth. If you're growing, that will not be worth your time. So I just told you, we make almost 3 times the amount that I thought I needed to make to be successful at the end of the year. And if I know anything, I know that next year at this time, hopefully I'm telling you that that money I thought I needed to make, that was 3 times the amount, is actually now not good enough either, because we've grown so much that our daily income goals have also grown. So anyway, guys, that was my goals for the year. I had lots of goals. I had goals for equipment, I had goals for employees, I had goals for customers. I had goals for everything, because if you have a small business, you can't expect to grow if you don't have goals. You don't have anything to challenge yourself, anything to grow towards. Now, granted, I thought where I'd be this year would be much different, and it's not what I thought I'd be. It's actually better. It's better than I can imagine. Things have worked out for a reason this way, and I hope that next year they continue to work out for the reasons that they do work out for, and us continue to grow and thrive and prosper in our landscaping company. What are your goals for the year? If this was your first year, if this is your 30th year, what were your goals at the beginning of the year? What are your goals right now? And what do you see happening in the future of your small company? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one.